Hi, so in this video I'll be showing you how to model an Apple Magic Mouse. I've set up a set of toolbars here which simplify the number of commands that we'll need to use because Rhino can be quite daunting as far as the number of icons are concerned. So there are two basic toolbars. The primary one just has the modeling tools with a few rebuild tools at the end, and the surfaces has just 3 surface tools with another 2 modifying tools, and then just 3 commands for sub D, and then 2 analysis tools. So this should be sufficient to create the entire mouse. A reminder to my students that we're going to be using the layers command, the layers tab in the right hand side, and then the properties tab as well. So a little feature perhaps that I didn't show you in class is that you have these little buttons on the right and the left in which you can hide or show respectively the left and the right toolbars and property bars. So at the moment, let's just make sure that images is current, so you can decide which of these layers is current or not, and you can hide them by using the little light bulb, and you can lock them by using the lock bar, and you can change the color of a layer by just selecting the color. So at the moment we're in images, so nothing we do in any of these others is going to affect us. And I'm going to be hopping between views just using my shortcuts, but just to remind you, you can maximize a view by clicking in the tab at the top. You can also change the way that you display inside the view. At the moment I've got this perspective one on shaded and the rest on wireframe. So I'm going to go to the front view. I'll click on the front view for now, and I would like to drop a picture in there. I'll remind you that you can type in the command bar if you know the shortcuts, things like picture. But I'm not going to use the command bar much at all. Instead, I'm just going to use these icons. I hope that's easier to use. That you'll need to navigate to wherever your pictures are. There are only 2 I need here. That's the side picture. And I can now click on the origin, or I can click anywhere and just drag out. So I'm not too fussed at the moment about exactly where this thing sits. I can drag it out so that the axes roughly lie, or that the picture lines up roughly with the axes. So I would like the base of the sketch, that line there, to line up with my y-axis roughly, and then the middle like that. So for now, that's sufficient. I'll just show you something else before we move on to an actual sketch. I'd like this sketch to be, or this picture to be, a little bit more transparent. So if you move to the left to properties, the second command here is material. If you select that command, you can change, if you've got an object selected, you can change the transparency of that object. So this is going to be about 45% roughly. And the second thing I would like to do is to move this sketch or this picture out of the way. So I'm going to go to my perspective view, and then I'm going to use the gumball to drag it out the way. Now you can use the gumball in a freeform fashion like that, or you can select this arrow and you can type in a figure, say 30, and it'll go in whichever direction that little gumball arrow is pointing. So if I would like it to go in the opposite direction, I must type in a minus, and that's what it'll do. But for now, just out like that. Let's do the same in the top view. So I'm going sequentially. Let's get the pictures in first, and then we'll scale them. So this is this top one. I'm going to do it from, all right. So that's oriented in the wrong direction. I'd like it to be at 90. Do that. And then I'm going to just drag this and let it, okay, wait for the 2 arms to turn black, and then you can drag it. Oops, you should be able to. Drag, and it'll snap to my origin. The other way you can do that is you can start dragging type 0 in and hit enter, and then the object will snap to the origin automatically. Let's go back to the front view. And so now I would like to place a curve in here that I'm going to scale. So I'm going to activate the curves layer. I don't need to, but just to show you how this works. And I'm going to draw a line, and I'm not going to worry about where I start this, but what I can do is I can control the length of this line by typing in my length. So I want this to be 115, hit the enter button, and then whatever I do to this line, it'll stay at 115, but I would like it to be horizontal. So I'm going to hold the shift button down, and that'll constrain this to horizontal. Now you can see my layer is this yellow color, which I changed. I'd like it to be black. So I'm going to change that. And now I'd like this to be oriented on my origin. So I'm going to drag, type in 0 and enter. And then I'm going to drag it up a little bit. Okay, so now I can scale this picture down to these endpoints. So the two things about the scaling is if you select just one of them without holding the shift button down, you can scale up and down. But if you hold the shift button down and then select this, you can scale uniformly. So let's scale that uniformly. That's scaled a little bit too much. And you can see that my picture doesn't line up with the sketch. So I can either drag it across a little bit, or if you want to be more precise, you can use the arrow keys on the keyboard. Right, so let's just drag this down so that the sort of the limits of my sketch correspond with this line that I've created. So let's scale that up. So I don't know if this makes sense to you, but you can see that the end of my line is touching that point there, and then the end of the line should touch this point. So at the moment, obviously, I need to maybe just center this a bit, my eye, and scale it up a little or down a little bit more. It's up. So that's good enough. I don't think I need to be more precise than that. I'm going to leave it as it is. And let's go to the top view. So that line is still visible. If it's not visible, if, for instance, you might have placed it at the bottom, just drag it up to where you want it to be. So I'm going to Control Z in both cases because I want it to be back where I started. Go to the top view. And we're going to do the same now with this top view sketch. But at the moment, if I select that sketch, you can see that the arms of the actual object are obscuring that line. So it's difficult to see what I'm doing. So let's move this line out of the way by selecting it, clicking in this move button, and saying 10 or so, something like that. Right, so there's my picture which I've selected. Hold the shift button down, scale this down to roughly where I would like it to be, move it across a little bit. Okay, so it needs to scale a little bit less. All right, and so let's move this curve back up. So I'm going to just, I know I've moved it down by 10, so I'm going to enter a minus and enter. It's back where it should be. And so this is a little bit tricky. Hey, there we go. Right, we were spot on. It's good enough. Let's go back to perspective view. All right, and so let's drag this out of the way as well. And also let's make that a little bit more transparent. Somewhere around like that. And now I would like to lock. Since I know these are both, or they should both be on the images layer, I should be able to lock it and not select them. There we go. I can't select them. So I'm on the curves layer. Let's let's focus on getting the top sketch in place at the same time. So this is going to be the basic sketch to create my loft for the top surface. And then I would like to be able to cut out that loft from the square shape by drawing this shape. So I'll show you how that works in a moment. I will be using the circle command, and if you use it as is, you can mouse over and it should snap to the center point. And if I drag this out, you can see if wherever my cursor lies, that's where the orientation of that circle will be. So if I click on this, you'll see that it's these control points are not lined up vertically or horizontally. They're sort of at an odd angle. Now you can fix that using this command here, or you can use it fix it using the actual gumball. But rather than doing that, let's just get this right from the beginning. So I'm going to let my mouse over stay snapped to this vertical and click like this. All right, so the problem with this circle is that it consists of two arcs which meet in the middle in a kink. So if I select those 2 points and I drag them down, you'll see that's what I get. And I don't want that. I'd like a curve that doesn't have a kink in it at all. So let's go back to the circle command and just using the drop down, select the circle deformable, and now we're going to perform the same operation. Click in the center, drag up, make sure you're locked into or don't go outside of the vertical, click, and now as you click, let's do that again. Before you start, you can see in the command line that you have a number of options here. So degree 3, yours might be higher. Leave it at degree 3. So if it's, say, degree 5, just click inside there. Let's do that again. So if it's degree 5, click inside and then just enter what you want it to be. Degree 3 is good. Point count 12, the same thing. If it says something else like 10, just click inside here and type 12. Right. And then drag it up. So now I have a circle which has got 12 points to it. Also, what's genius about this is that there's no kink in that circle. I'm going to make this circle have all the control points show. So I'm going to left click on this show control points, which means that even though none of the control points or none of the objects is showing, the control points are showing at all times. And that means that I can now select control points and move them around. But before I do that, I just want to scale this. So I'm going to use the scale button just to scale it outwards a little bit. And then maybe outwards on the top to bottom. And now I can select my control points, but in this case, please make sure that you hold the shift button down and select either side of the center. So let's drag those out and then scale them downwards. Let's do the same for these end points. And here you want to make sure that you don't have too many control points. That's why I've said just 12. The fewer control points you have, the less you have work you have to do, and the smoother the curves. So there we go. You can see that's very close to what I want it to be. Maybe a hint more outwards. Yeah, that's very, very close. Good enough. I think maybe these two, let's just control deselect that one, should come in a little bit. And perhaps these two top to bottom. I want to make sure that these here line up, and they don't. So here I want to make sure that these are in a line, and so you can see the scaling button is active, which means they're not in a line. It means the two outside ones are below the middle one. So I can either click on that button and type in 0, or let's show you in the top view, I can also get this to snap like that. All right, I'm hoping that that's absolutely perfect. I'm going to Control Z, and then instead of doing that, so that's to show you how to do it, I'm going to select these and scale them in just a hair. There we go. Right, back to the perspective view just to see what we've got. Okay, so I've got this curve, and it's not sitting on my construction plane. And I'd like it to be on the construction plane just so it's out of the way and also so that I can use it later on. So I'm going to drag this, type in 0 and enter, and that'll snap it to my construction plane. Now let's hide those control points. So you can just right click on the points off, and that hides them. And we can go to the front view. And at the moment, I just need to show you what's going on with this curve. So at the moment, it has just 2 control points. Let's rebuild this. So I'm going to say rebuild curve. I'm going to select this command, rebuild curve. And in the rebuild curve dialog box, you can see that the number of points that you have at the moment is 2. Those are the ones in brackets. And the degree is 1. Now, the way that the degrees work is that the degree must always be at least 1 less than whatever the point count is. So if I type in 3, for instance, you'll see that the degree changes to 2. And if I type in 4, it changes to 3. If I go to 5, however, it stays at 3 because I can have more than. So I could have 3 in here, and I could make that degree 1. It would still work, no problem. What that'll do, just to show you, that means that those are 2 straight lines. But the moment I change this to degree 2, this becomes a curve. All right, so just so you understand how that works, so let's just rebuild that curve again, and I would like that to be 7 at the top, and then this to be degree 3. So now I have 7 control points, and I'm going to left click just to show them, and then I'm going to drag select the middle ones and leave the end ones, and then just drag this up so that it's building this curve. Right, and then the same procedure as before. Make sure you select on the 2 ends, always evenly, and then just drag them down or scale them out or in, whatever it is that you need to do to get this curve to work. So those probably need to come up a little bit and out just a hair. Okay, that's looking good, and that's very quickly. I've now created the curve that I want. Let's switch off the points by right-clicking, going to this view, and so I need 2, but in this case I need 3 curves to be able to use this command here, the loft command. It's just 3 because I want to be able to control it a bit better. So I'm going to use a copy of this curve. And to do that, I can drag outwards like this and then tap the Alt key, and you'll see a little plus sign appear. So that means I've got a copy, and then I'm going to drag it down a little bit, say 5 millimeters, and then also go back to my top view and get that curve to be sort of 25% of the total distance from here away. So what I'm trying to aim at here is that the loft that I create is larger than this oval, because I'm going to slice out of that item. So let's go back to the perspective view, and I'd like now to create a copy of this on the other side. So I'm going to use the mirror command. Now in the mirror command you can actually use the snaps to get it to go the other side, or if you'd like to, you can select an axis. In this case it's the x-axis, and that places it absolutely perfectly to the other side of the x-axis. So I've got these three curves. I'm going to go to surfaces and use this loft, sub D loft, and select the three curves, 1, 2, 3. In fact, I'm going to do this and then show you that this is not what I want. The problem with it is that I would like these the ends of this to be further away than the end of this curve here. So I need extra space. So let's draw a line like this. I'm going to hold the shift button down so you can see that's created a line. Go to the top view just to see what's going on, and I'm going to just extend this a little bit. You can drag it up. So I pretty much want that line to be longer in length top to bottom than where these two curves lie, and then just bring it in a little bit. It doesn't matter too much here, and then mirror that as well. So I'm just going to use the axis. It actually snaps to the axis. And now I would like to extrude these. And the way I do that is I hold this extrude button, this little button close to the middle, and I can drag it up. Okay, so you can see that I'm getting some surfaces coming out of this. If I would like to extrude it in both directions, hold the shift button down and it'll do that. So that should be good enough. Let's see if this works. Use this button here, extend curve to boundary. What that allows you to do is to select the boundaries that you want to extend the curves to. So that'll be these two. And then you hit the enter button. And then, sorry, I was too quick on that. Let's do that again. So then it says select curve to extend, and you will just select these curves. All right, so at the moment, you can see that these two surfaces are too far away. What I can do is I can shift select both of them and just use the scaling bar just to move them in a little bit. So this should work correctly now. 1, 2, hit the enter button. There we go. Right, so I'm selecting near the end of the curve and it's just extending it to those surfaces. And then I can get rid of these. Don't need them anymore. And now the fun bit. Let's see. So loft button, select the three curves, 1, 2, and 3. And then when you hit the enter button, you'll get this dialog box. The curve is now echoing, the loft is now echoing what I've got in the curve. So there are 6 divisions in the curves, or 7. So you'll see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 7 divisions, even though it's 6. I can't remember how to explain that. And then there's 3 left to right, because there are 3 curves that it's going across. I'm going to select the corners just to square this off. That means it's putting a crease on the corners. And then I can control the number of divisions between shapes. So I'm going to bump this up to 3. And you'll see that that's kind of flattened this out. So that's not exactly what I want. I can adjust this a little bit. If I say adjust shape segments, you can see I've got a slightly rounder shape. You can also increase the number of segments, but I would leave it as it is. And at the moment it's green. That's because I've chosen green as my sort of underside of surfaces color. That's because all objects in a NURBS program have a direction. So let me show you how that works. So if I type dir in here, and I select the command, and I select these items, it'll show you which direction they're pointing in. My direction is facing downwards and inwards. I'd like it to face outwards. So what you can do is select the object and then just type in flip or FLI. You'll get flip, and it hits enter and it'll flip the direction. So I'd still now like to be able to control what this shape does without moving bits apart around. Just to remind you that sub D allows you to move a section of this. So if you hold the shift control button down, you can sub-select any object. Okay, so either an edge or a vertex. or multiple vertices and a face, for instance. Okay, so there's all sorts of wonderful things you can do with sub-D. We in this one, we're trying to do a little bit more accurate modeling, or at least not waste time, because you can actually waste an immense amount of time fiddling with this and sort of slightly getting it to go into the shape you want it to be, and then finding that that's not correct. And then, okay, so let's see if we can find a slightly more accurate way. I'm going to go to the front view, sorry, the right view. And now I'm going to create a curve. So I've got this arc command, which is the arc start end point on arc. If I click on that, I should be able to select the ends of the arc to correspond with these two, and then the top close to or at the top. So you can see that's the arc I want to try and replicate. In my perspective view, I can see that that's sitting nice and upright. And so now we're going to use this command here, which is the align objects. And I'm going to get this set of edges, and the way I select them is Shift Control, double click on that line. I'm going to get that to align to this curve. So then with that set of edges selected, select align objects. And inside here, you've got this to curve inside the command bar. Select to curve, and then select that curve, and you'll see that this updates. All right, so with that still selected, I'm just going to drag it up a little bit, something like that. Perfect. And I want to do the same maybe on this set of edges here. So I'm going to draw an arc from here to there. Shift Control to curve that one there, and then just drag this up a hair. All right, so I'm only going to do one side, and I'll show you why, because we don't want to waste time. And let me show you how we're now going to adjust this curve to get what we want. But sorry, I need to show you another step. I'm going to delete that curve and this one here. We don't need them anymore. This is basically just to get, what I want, pretty much where I'd like it to be. I'm going to place this object on my sub-D and move that sub-D layer and move to that layer, make that active. So at the bottom here, I can click on curves, right click on sub-D and say change object layer. So if I make my sub-D layer active and I lock or hide the curves item, those curves have disappeared. Oh dear, I in fact don't want to hide them or lock them, because in fact I want that curve, sorry, that's locked. I want that curve to project to this shape here. So I'm going to finish off this video by just projecting this curve to this shape, and then in the next video I'll show you how to do the rest of the modeling. So on the left hand side, there's a command I haven't yet put inside my toolbar, so I'll show you how to do that. Here's the command I want. I'm going to hold the control button while I'm mousing over, and you'll see I get this copy link option. If I drag this command, and then I can let go of the control button and place this in, let's put it in somewhere over here and let go. That'll place it in my toolbar. So I'm going to use that command, and I'm going to project this curve onto this surface. Oops. Let's do that again. Let's select that curve, hit enter onto this surface. But if I do that, you'll see that if I select this curve, it's got a whole lot of control points. I don't want that. I want something which echoes the number of control points I've got on this curve. So if I use this command again, select the curve, and then before you hit enter, make sure that in the command bar you select loose is yes, and then you say enter, and then you select this curve. Right, so that curve is now connected to the surface, as long as my record history button is on. So you'll see it's on if it's blacked out. You can right click in here and you can, oh, that's not showing it. Right, I won't be able to show this in the view, but if I click on this, I don't know if I can get this. It should, there's two buttons here. You can see maybe the top of this one, always record history and update children. And then you can maybe select the one at the bottom, history break warning. Right, and I'm going to change the color of this item. So I will go to the properties bar, and here in display color, I'm going to give it a color. So let's make it a green, sort of a darkish green, so you can see what's going on. And if I go to the right or the front view, you can see that curve there. And just briefly, I'll show you how this works. So I'm going to sub-select part of my sub D. And if I move this up, watch what happens to the green line. It'll follow that line. I don't know if you could see that. It's actually following it. And so I'll continue in the next video to show you how that works.